What's going on YouTube? This is Rybo back at the bench, and this time I've got another cutter carry knife review. Today looking at the Civivi Rustic Gent. Now, the Rustic Gent is a knife that I have wanted for a year or however long it's been since it came out. I remember wanting one of these at least a year ago, really debating on it, and I don't know why I never pulled the trigger, but I really wanted specific configurations because I really like the look of some of them, and I just kind of forgot about it. Plus, I don't really carry kind of classic knives like this that much, but there's something about this one that I just loved. So finally saw one pop up and kind of on the used market, and I bid on it, and I'm really glad I did. Not to ruin the end of the video, but I'm really glad I did. Okay, so Rustic Gent, let's do a couple quick size comparisons and then we will get to the review. As always, let's bring out the K-bar dozier. So you can see it's right in that nice sweet spot of what I consider a great everyday knife. Then let's just bring out a very similar knife. So this is the Benchmade Proper. So I probably should do a head-to-head of these two knives because they are very similar. Different price points, but very similar. So the one major difference is that this is a locking knife and this is not. But other than that, a lot of similarities between these two. I probably should have brought out a buck 110 too. That would have been good if I actually prepared for things, but I do not. Okay, so the Civivi Rustic Gent. So let's go ahead and start with things that I like about the Civivi Rustic Gent. And I'll try to say Civivi as few times as possible because apparently I cannot say it very well. Okay, so first off, the thing that drew me to this specific configuration of the knife and the thing that I really enjoyed about that brand. So this handle material. So this is kind of a burlap micarta, I believe. And I don't know if it shows in videos or photos as well, but man, it looks killer and feels killer in person. There is a nice texture there that just feels like something different. Feels a little bit less mass manufactured, even though it is, but it just feels, kind of dresses it up. Feels a little bit nicer than the price point. And I love the look of it. I think I had this on the Hooligan, maybe. I think that was like the snakeskin micarta that they called it or whatever, but I really like this. I think it looks really solid. And I am not usually a carbon fiber guy, but I actually think that this looks killer with the carbon fiber bolster there. Really nice. Really nice transition there, no gaps. Just all in all, especially for the price point, really well done. So visually and in terms of the handle material, excellent job. Other things that I really like, the blade. So while this isn't, or hasn't traditionally been kind of the type of blade that I go for, I really started liking this kind of classic, I don't know why I always say toothpick, but this kind of classic clip point style blade. I just really like it. I find it for a knife like this to be very useful. This has no pocket clip, so if I carry this, I'm going to be doing, some small cutting, maybe slicing tasks, little things. And I find this to be a really good, I don't know, maybe more refined knife to carry. So you still have plenty of blade. It's actually a very large blade, or long blade at least, when you look at it up against some other things. Let's see, what else do I have over here? Para 3 lightweight, maybe even slightly more sharpened blade length, in a knife that is kind of considered more of an in the pocket gentleman's carry than a classic kind of pocket clip knife. And so plenty of sharpened blade length, but you've got a nice thin tip down here, and you've got a beautiful swedge there. Just a great, just killer looking blade, but also I think very useful, at least so far in the tasks that I've kind of done with it, which granted aren't as maybe strenuous as, this isn't a knife that I'm carrying on a project day or something, but it's been up to the task for everything I've put it through. The other thing I really like about both the blade and kind of the knife and how it works overall is this kind of revised nail nick thing that they have here. So, you know, just refresher, classic kind of nail nick here, or what you might find on like a Swiss Army knife. So this gives you essentially the same, same function, I'd say even better function, and a little bit more of a modern look, but also gives you a lot more real estate here to grab onto and a deeper nail nick. And so instead of having to grab in one spot and maybe even having to use a fingernail, I can grab this just like this, and I get tons of purchase on that. I can get a really strong grip and I can pull that right out. It works really, really well. Very, very good design. You have plenty of that open and visible, and you can get a hand on. I love how they've put it all the way at the very top of the knife. So you have the most, blade out there, and you're able to get your finger on the most part of the blade. It makes it a very easy experience opening the knife. If you compare that to a classic nail nick, and this one is done a little bit better than I think most are. You have less real estate to get your hand on, and you have kind of less texture, less purchase there, because that's just really inset into the knife. Whereas this one is almost part of the spine of the blade, which I really, really like. It's also the thickest part of the knife. So very, very good job there. Really, really like that. Other things that I like. So ergonomics, I think are fantastic for a knife like this. Nothing exciting here to look at, but feels very, very good in the hand. It's a nice big knife, honestly. It feels really good in the hand. I mean, you're gonna be using it more like this or like this, probably for what you're doing, but plenty of real estate, nice smooth curves here. I always like this right here, which is just very, very rounded, because that's gonna be kind of in that palm of your hand, and I think work very, very well. And so, ergonomics, really, really fantastic. Another thing I like is that this is not a slip joint. So that's kind of the weird thing about the Rustic Gent, is that it is not a slip joint. The classic knife that kind of looks like this, you would think definitely gonna be slippy, but this isn't. And I really like that because let's face it, why have a slip joint when you could have a locking knife? It's much safer. You don't have to worry about pushing on this spine and cutting off your fingers there. And this is a very classic looking lockback. And so I love the fact that this is a lockback. I mean, this reminds me of a Buck 110. And I think even a little bit better in terms of the back locking mechanism. I think I do like having the lock all the way back here. I think it makes it easier to operate, but I think it just fits very, very well there. And I really like the fact that it is a locking knife. Other things, I would just say, I guess overall weight, size, everything, it's just a great carry knife. It's thin. Like I said, it's a pretty big knife for what it is, and it carries very, very well. I mean, if you compare this to something like the Para 3 Lightweight, you can see how compact it is in the pocket. And compare it to something like the Dozier, and you can see it's even more compact than something like the Dozier. And so, yes, you're going to be carrying it in the pocket, not clipped to the pants, but really, really great carry size, in my opinion. All right, so things that I dislike about the Rustic Gent. Honestly, there's not really anything. I mean, this knife ships with a little, which I should have brought out for the camera, but I never do those things anyway. Comes with like a little slip that has a pocket clip on it. Comes with the Civivi pouch and all of that. Actually, I take that back. I don't think the Rustic Gent did come with a pouch. I have a couple pouches from other knives, but I don't think that it did. But it does come with a little slippy. The one thing, I guess, if I had to critique is you have a lockback knife here. It's kind of a modern take on a classic knife, and I think a lot of knives try to do that. This one's doing it really well. But I would almost love for this to have some kind of a pocket clip. Now, I know that they included the slippy with the pocket clip on it. I'm not carrying my knife that way, just not my style. But I would carry this knife a lot more than I did if it did have some kind of pocket clip. Now, how would you do that and look nice? I think you could have a very plain, long, thin pocket clip on here that would look okay. I would carry this knife all the time if it had that. As it is, you know, I carry this when I can, but you know, if I'm going out on a typical day, like I'm probably just gonna grab something that has a pocket clip because it's just easier. So I mean, if there was one critique I had, like that's what it would be. But I think that Civivi may have some new offerings that may scratch that itch. Besides that, I freaking love this knife. This is a huge carry for me. I waited so long. I should not have waited so long to get this knife. I really had wanted one of these from the moment I saw it because I thought it just looked so nice. But in practice, it is phenomenal. I love it. I'm even more surprised at how much I like it because I think I thought, hey, I've waited all this time. I've probably hyped it up in my head. But no, I think it overperforms, and that's kind of become an expectation of Civivi. Honestly, they're a brand that has delivered a lot of value and has surprised a lot of people consistently. I think you know, you can have your issues, but they're huge fans of lots of their different knives, and I've certainly enjoyed a lot of them. So this is a big carry for me. I really like it. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And until next time, we'll see you then.